Yeah, just want to start off first and foremost sending our thoughts and prayers to Coach D.W. Rutledge and his family. I know Coach Rutledge was in a pretty nasty bicycle accident on Friday, and one of the legends, not just in this state, but in the country and in our sport. And he's in ICU right now. We're checking on him daily, and if you find it in your heart, I know him and his family certainly could use your thoughts and prayers too. That being said, moving on, again, great win on Saturday. Excited to have got the job done on the road against a top 10 team, and but due to the uniqueness of our schedule, I mean, we were watching West Virginia immediately on Saturday night after the game on our way home. We had to get our kids in here on Sunday to meet. We did not practice on Sunday to give our coaches a little extra time on Sunday to game plan, and then had to really be efficient with our work yesterday on Monday to get in here early and get a first and second down game plan on all sides of the ball, ready to go for a practice yesterday evening, which our kids responded really well to the change in schedule. Obviously today being election day, they are off from any mandatory activities. A lot of our guys have already voted. They voted early. But I know there are still some that are planning on voting today, and I'm really proud of all of our guys on our team that either have voted or are going to vote throughout today. So we have immediately moved on to West Virginia, statistically the best defense in our conference. So we go from probably the number 2 statistic defense in our conference to the number 1 statistical defense in our conference, and obviously they're doing some really good things on offense as well with that running back, the quarterback. They've got skilled receivers, so this is going to be a formidable challenge, and certainly one that got everybody's attention in the locker room and throughout our program with their big win against Kansas State last week. So we know we're going to have our hands full this week, and a very unique schedule due to the off day on a Tuesday, but our kids seem to be handling it well, and we're excited to be back home in front of our fans. I said it post game, but it bears repeating. Thank the fans that did make the trip to Stillwater. I know there wasn't very many of you that were allowed in the stadium, but we do appreciate you guys being there, being loud, cheering for us, and obviously all of our fans watching and cheering at home too. So we expect as many people as permissible in the stadium here on Saturday, and excited to have an opportunity to go 1-0 again this week against West Virginia. Questions?
Go ahead and start with Dennis.
Coach, this team is dripping with moxie and grit and all the fight that you like to see. But we were talking to Sam about it yesterday. Why do you think sometimes it has to have its back against the wall before it starts swinging like that? And do you think that grit will kind of buy you some time as the offense and defense works out any kind of kinks and polishes up as the season goes on?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head, Dennis. I think we're a work in progress, and there's times out there where it feels like we're playing with 11 true freshmen that are playing in their whatever it is sixth ball game, because in the new system everything is different, and our guys are learning on the fly as fast as they possibly can, and we're surviving right now because of the unity, the closeness of this team and its coaching staff, and we're going to find it's going to click at some point to where it clicks earlier than later, in certain games. But again, the common theme is, you know, just like I say every week. I mean, this is a team with a new defensive scheme, a new offensive scheme, a bunch of different new special team schemes with no spring practice, no summer, and a truncated training camp. And we're learning on the fly. We keep getting better. Our guys are excited to come to the building each and every day to get better. They know that they can. They have seen themselves play really, really well. I mean, I thought our defense in the second half to hold Oklahoma State to 10 points in the second half and overtime, to hold Chuba Hubbard, you know, arguably a potential first-round running back, to 74 yards or whatever it was on 25 carries. You know, so there is some definite tangible improvement. And for now, our grit, our determination, our togetherness, our love for one another and our coaches is getting us through some of those adverse times throughout a game. But you know, we're finding a way to play well enough towards the end of games to pull them out.
Mike, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, two things. Number one, did you notice the video board putting up all those lines while your kicker, Cameron Dicker, was attempting a field goal?
I did, Mike, and I addressed it with Commissioner Bowlesby and Ed Stewart, the Associate Commissioner for Football, and they assured me that that is not permissible by Big 12 standards, and it has been addressed.
Okay. And then secondly, can you speak to the effort of you talked about it just a second ago about the effort of the defensive side of the ball, but just how your defensive line is starting to emerge and putting that pressure on the offenses of the other teams.
Yeah, I can't say enough. I thought that was definitely going to be the strength of our defense coming into the season, and it has been throughout the season. Those guys, just like everybody on our team, especially on defense, continue to get better, and as they get better and more comfortable in the system, I think you continue to see them make play after play after play. And you know, the good thing is we've got some depth there as well, especially on the inside with you know, kind of a four-man rotation at the two defensive tackle spots, and so we're able to keep those guys fresh, and they are definitely making an impact in the last few ball games.
Anwar, you're up.
Hey, Coach. I got two questions for you. What's a status update on Isaiah Hookfin is my first question.
Isaiah wound up having to have surgery on that shoulder. Was not healing the way that we thought it would. We knew surgery was inevitable at some point. We were hoping to rehab him enough that he could function throughout this season and wait till after the season to repair what needed to be repaired. But it just, after a couple weeks, the kid, the young man, was you know, pretty non-functional with that shoulder. It was just bothering him too much, and we all decided, him included, that it would be in his best interest to get that fixed now and have him 100% for spring ball next off season.
Okay, thank you, Coach. My second question to you is that defensive line for West Virginia, especially the twin brothers, the Still brothers. They all have a way of getting to that quarterback. I think they have 20 sacks so far this season as a defensive unit. Just talk about the matchup problem that defensive line creates, especially the Steel twins. Yeah,
well, what it allowed, I mean, I'm going to read some stats to you. I'm sure you guys know. I mean, this is a team that is 4th in the country in total defense, 5th in the country in pass defense, 10th in rushing defense, 17th in scoring defense, 15th in sacks, and 16th in TFLs. And you know, I think having those guys up front, and it's, you know, the Sills brothers are great players, but they've got some other guys up there as well. Number 50, we think, is a heck of a player. I'm trying to remember his name here. Jared Bartlett, you know, redshirt freshman, has really kind of jumped off the screen as a guy that we've got to pay attention to. And so they've got, you know, plenty beyond the Sills brothers. And what it has allowed them to do is, you know, not have to sell the farm to stop the run or rush the passer. You know, those guys are able to cancel gaps in the run game and get home to the passer and allow them to drop 7 and 8 into coverage, even on third downs and, you know, critical situations. They really trust that those guys are going to get a good push, and for the most part they do. And we're going to have our hands full with them. We feel like so far we've got a good plan. You're never going to neutralize them. They're going to make plays. Great players do. I mean, the 56 was voted the preseason defensive player of the year in our conference. I mean, that's a pretty big honor, and a lot of respect that we have for him and the entire league has for him and his front mates, if you will. And that's going to be, in my opinion, the key to the game is can we block them consistently. We know they're going to make plays. They've made them against everybody that they played, everybody. But if we can make more plays than they do, and if we can be consistent in, you know, not turning guys completely loose in the backfield, then we'll have a shot to move the football.
Brian, go ahead.
Yeah, Tom, actually along those lines, I mean, running the football is going to be key this week. How is Keontae after Saturday? And secondly, do you think that Bijan is showing you enough that maybe you give him a little more rope?
Yeah, Keontae, I forgot to mention injuries. Keontae will not play this Saturday. High ankle sprain, does not require surgery, but he's going to be out for a few weeks. And, you know, you see it, at least, you know, having done this close to 25 years and Coach Drayton almost 30, you know, the game starts slowing down for these young tailbacks, and it is for Bijan, and you know, we're going to lean on him and Roshawn pretty heavily in this game.
Bob, go ahead.
Coach, you've lost more as a ranked team to unranked teams than anyone in the country since your arrival, but you're also notoriously really good as an underdog in beating some really good teams as well. Why do you think it's so difficult to find that straight line that coaches are always looking for from their guys, never two up, never two down? And do you think your players ever get caught up in rankings?
Well, I would hope not. We certainly don't talk about them. You know, those are very subjective. You know, that's their opinions, right? They're not fact. And so we don't get too caught up with people's opinions. Would we like to play more consistently? Yeah, but we also know that, you know, when you come to a place like Texas, you're going to get everybody's best shot. And the team you see on film, when you're breaking down film, you know, ratchet that up, you know, times 10, because they're going to be that cranked up and excited to play the University of Texas. And we've got to do a better job of making our kids understand that. But you know, we are proud of the fact that, you know, we do play well when we play big-time opponents that are in everybody else's opinion, you know, ranked very, very highly. But you are right, Bob. I mean, that's a point of emphasis that we've got to get ironed out here as we continue to grow as a team and play more consistently against the teams that aren't ranked. But I would also caution, just because they're not ranked doesn't mean they're not good. You know, there's plenty of good teams. I think there's a ton of parity in this league, as demonstrated by the records and the margin of victories too. I mean, these Big 12 games are all coming down to the wire, and they're all seem to be 1 or 2 possession games. And you know, that's the way it's going to be probably throughout the season of 2020, and we're prepared for that. But we also know that we've got to bring our A game each and every week, and that's easier said than done. But because we know that every team that plays us is going to give us their A game.
Maya, go ahead.
Hi, Coach. So I saw the locker room celebration after the game, and I was just wondering, what is it like to crowd surf?
It's my first time ever. It was actually kind of cool. I'd never done that before, and Keandre Coburn picked me up, and the next thing I know, I'm on top of everybody, and it was pretty fun. I got to be honest with you, Maya. It was fun, and in the moment, everybody as excited as they were. It was fun that they let this old crusty guy be a part of their celebration. That was fun.
Nick, go ahead.
Yeah, Tom, you probably can't overstate the importance of Deshaun's return touchdown. I know you all have had your sort of trials and tribulations in the return game over the last few years, but what is it that has made Deshaun such a dangerous return man, and how do you feel about the kickoff return game right now?
Really good, and what makes it really good is he's got 10 other guys blocking for him. Deshaun is not taking those to the house 1 on 11, and the guys in front of him are doing a great job of that you want to talk about one of the hardest things to do in football is to drop straight back for 20 yards, turn around, and then have to block a guy that's got a 40-yard running start at you and can go in either direction, and all you have is space, right? Or all he has is space, and that is a really, really difficult job description. And Coach Boulware does a great job of teaching the techniques. He does a great job of double teaming the right guy. It does a great job of scheming up, taking away maybe their best 1 or 2 cover guys. And then obviously DJ's got great vision and great acceleration. He made one guy miss, and the rest was up to the acceleration. And, when you go back and watch the kickoff return against Oklahoma State, you're going to see some really, really, really good blocks, most notably Roshawn Johnson, the off returner, getting right in front of him and what we call scraping paint on a guy that was, within inches of tackling DJ, inside the 20-yard line. And Roshawn Johnson does a yeoman's work of coming from all the way across the field and getting in front of that guy to shield him just enough to get DJ started, and DJ kind of did the rest. But I think and DJ would be the first to tell you, it's a team effort. Those guys are blocking their tails off for him on blocks that are, in my opinion, the hardest blocks to make in football, and our guys are doing a really good job of it.
Jeff, go ahead.
Hey Tom, with your linebackers, I think they played every snap. Your 2 inside linebackers the last 2 games. And I know you talked all offseason about just to get experience at that position and those guys needing to grow. How do you, I guess, kind of track their overall growth in terms of, and I know personnel has been a problem there in terms of you'd like to have more bodies, but how do you just track their process, grade their process, or progress, I should say, and where do you feel like DeMarvion and Juwan are right now compared to maybe where they were when you guys started conference play?
Well, they're getting a lot better. I know Juwan, what does he have, 22 tackles in the last 2 games. And, he's playing really, really well right now. DeMarvion is still, again, this is a guy that is playing the position for the first time in training camp without a spring ball and without summer. And he shows a lot of flashes, but he's still got work to do. And the guys behind them, the David Bendas and the Jalen Fords and Court Jaquises, those guys need to continue to improve and practice, and we need to do a good job of feeling comfortable of getting him in the game for a series or 2 to spell DeMarvion and Juwan.
Kirk, go ahead.
Tom, West Virginia's really improved their running game from last year and obviously playing strong defense. How would you contrast what Neil Brown's trying to do, maybe different from the way Dana did it for a long time there?
Well, I don't know what he's trying to do. You know, I'm not in those staff meetings. I'm not in any of those philosophical meetings. But all I can tell you is what the result is, and the result is what you just said, Kirk. They're running the ball really, really well, and you know, they're playing unbelievably sound and effective and disruptive defense. And you know, now why that is, I don't know.
Did he change when he was at Troy, or has he been pretty consistent? I don't know if you go back that far.
Yeah, we haven't watched. Maybe last year when we played him, we might have watched some Troy film, but this year there's plenty from last year and these first 6 games that we haven't touched on.
They look like night and day different from last year.
No, I think, yeah, I mean, again, very similar. I'll read you a stat. So they've got 11 starters on defense. 4 of them are 5-year guys, 5th-year guys. 3 of them are 4th-year guys. 2 of them are 3rd-year guys. So you do the math. That's 9. 9 of their 11 are 5th, 4th, or 3rd-year guys. And, you know, when you're playing in the same system and you've got good players that you can, and you have the continuity within the system, those players are going to get better, and each and every year. And we saw it with Oklahoma State with how veteran that group was on defense, and West Virginia is the same. I think that's critical in college football, is the continuity and continued repetitions in the same system year after year after year after year, and developing guys into 4th and 5th-year guys that produce for you.
Thanks.
Roger, go ahead.
Seems like no matter what Sam does for 3 quarters, he saves his best for last. What do you attribute that to, the way he's been able to come up with such huge drives, plays, etc. down the stretch?
That's just him. I mean, I wouldn't, you know, he didn't play great against Oklahoma State, but in the previous games, you know, I wouldn't classify any of his first 3-quarter performances as poor by any stretch of the imagination. But I think Sam thrives under pressure, and not just the pressure, but the urgency of you know, late game scenarios.
Chip, you're up.
Tom, Joseph Osai credited the run defense with some, I guess, early morning run fit reps that the defense is running with Chris Ash. Can you talk about that and Sam's ability to play hurt?
Yeah, Sam's hurt all the time. You know, this is a guy that plays the game very physically, and he's going to be banged up, bumps and bruises, body's going to be sore, and he doesn't mind. You know, that's the way he plays. He knows that's the way he plays, and that he knows that's how he's going to feel on Sundays and Mondays. You know, he's pretty used to this. And then as far as, I mean, we have walkthroughs, you know, on a regular basis defensively when it comes to run fits and all that, and I think those help because, again, everything is new, and you know, it's not, you know, I think if we called, you know, quarters right now, we could probably fit inside zone very well. Now, if we called quarters and they came out in a run that we had never seen, that would be difficult for us. So we're trying to, you know, steal reps every which way that you can, and you know, some of those pre-practice walkthroughs are helping our guys understand those run fits better each week.
Cedric, go ahead.
Hey, Tom, what did you learn about your guys out there in Stillwater? And number 2, I know you always say you can coach them up a lot harder after a win. What areas of concern do you have going into this weekend?
Well, I probably didn't learn a whole lot that I didn't know. We play really hard. I'm really, really proud of how hard and physical we play. You know, that is kind of the culture around here, the expectation that's been set over time. And, you know, when you play that hard, that physical, that tenaciously, you're going to have a chance in every ball game. And just really proud of the way that they continue to play with that kind of effort level. And then what was the second part of the question? I'm sorry.
The second part was what areas of improvement do you see that needs to be made going into this weekend?
Well, I mean, we got to continue to protect the passer and get the ball out a little bit quicker. You know, I was really happy with the progress in the run game, again, with the explosive runs that we had. You know, it felt like there were more explosive runs in one game than we'd had in a couple games combined. And but we've got to continue to do that. And then, you know, we've got to continue to make sure that we don't beat ourselves with foolish penalties. And but I don't know that any of those would qualify as a concern. That they are areas that we need to improve on and opportunities that we need to take advantage of to get better at.
And then in 2018, you went 2-1 of the stretch against OU, Baylor, and Oklahoma State. Went 2-1 this year against OU, Baylor, and Oklahoma State. 2018, West Virginia came to town in early November. 2020, West Virginia comes to town in early November. So what's the difference in this team compared to 2018's team that might help them get over the hump against the Mountaineers?
I mean, we're talking 2 years, and we got different players. I mean, completely different players, completely different team. That has, you know, there's very few guys that even remember 2018 and that game. So, you know, we don't concern ourselves with a game from two years ago. With they've got different players, we've got different players. They got a different head coach, you know, and different systems. And so this is one game, 1-0 mentality around here that, you know, regardless of what happened last week, let alone 2 years ago, is not going to have any bearing on our preparation.
We've got about 5 questions left in queue. Let's keep it to 1 question each, and we'll roll through those. Start with Danny.
The 8 guys you have left from your transition class, 10 if you want to, you know, count Daniel and Marquez, how important have they been over these 4 years to setting the foundation of your program and the culture at Texas?
I don't have words to describe it. I mean, extremely important. You're talking about in that class, you've got 3 captains in Ellinger, Cosme, and Kerstetter. You've got key contributors across the board, and you know, we are so appreciative of them and their contributions to the building and continual building of this program. And I can't say enough about how proud I am and we are to have coached them for the last 4 years.
Marcus, go ahead.
Hey, Tom. I'm wondering about Roshawn Johnson. Obviously came in as a quarterback, and now he's, you know, making blocks on punt return touchdowns. We talked about his transition in the past, but what about him? You know, is it his athleticism or just his ability to mold to whatever position? What about him has allowed him to be so successful just across the board?
This right here, his heart. That dude. I tell our coaches all the time, you know, sign as many Roshawn Johnsons as you can. Go find them, because they're out there. Guys that are completely and utterly selfless, guys that are willing to do whatever it takes for their team, and guys that are vocal leaders. Man, he's a phenomenal leader, and everybody on the team, it doesn't matter if you're a 5th-year senior or a true freshman, you gravitate towards him, you listen to him, and then you go watch him practice, and the guy, you know, him and Joseph Osai are probably the two guys that when we look at the catapult numbers after practices, you know, it's like I'm always on Coach Drayton, I'm always on Coach Giles, like, hey, we got to manage these guys' reps in practice because they don't know how to go 3/4 speed. It's just not in their DNA, and we don't ever really want to practice at 3/4 speed, but you know, at times, you know, there are instances where 85-90% is good enough, and these guys just it's 100% or nothing, and so it's our job as coaches to make sure that we manage their reps to you know, make sure their bodies aren't wearing down. But I can't say enough about and my personal appreciation for Roshawn and all of his contributions to the team and just his 2 short years here.
Go ahead, Chip.
Can you talk about what Tony Fields has meant to their defense?
Yeah, he's a really good player. You know, he's a 3-year starter in the Pac-12 and had a bunch of tackles in that league and has transferred over to West Virginia and jumped right into that starting Mike linebacker spot. And, you know, he makes a lot of plays for him. And I'm sure they're very proud, excited, and thankful that they have him.
Last one. Go ahead, Roger.
Hey, Tom, Jared Dagey, what does he bring to the table? Looks like he takes care of the ball pretty well. Maybe not the run threat that you've seen last few games, but what problems does he pose?
Really quick release. Really quick release. He gets the ball out extremely quickly, very accurate, can throw. I mean, I saw some throws he made against Kansas State that were, you know, wow throws. Like, whoa. You watch it on video, and it's like, whoa, that was impressive. And so he's getting more and more comfortable each week in the system, and but his physical talents are definitely there in terms of throwing the football.